What's going on, guys?
So what's up, y'all? Cam and Georgia here. We are super excited. We're doing our first session called Gaming with the Gangses.
Yes.
Yeah. We just want to drop a little bit of nuggets knowledge from our experiences and stuff and whatnot. Just conversation we had where we feel like we can kind of impart.
Okay.
Well,
You want to go ahead? Something? It was. That's love.
Anyway, so tonight we're going to be talking about the mantle of marriage. That one.
That's a heavy one.
Yeah.
That's a heavy one. Oh yeah, we got our mask hoodie on. Shout out to Art of Homage.
Product of Grace.
Look at that.
But the mantle of marriage, right? Most people hear mantle, and when you hear mantle, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Like over a fireplace type mantle. That's what you're talking about?
I'm just asking, what is
well, that's what comes to mind for me. Okay. You know, like something's on display, something's being seen, something like that. Yeah. All
right, so there are, I think there's like two different ways to spell mantle. One is T-E-L and the other one is T-L-E. And they mean, one means the fireplace mantle, the other means transfer of power or responsibility into something. Position of some sort or whatnot. So the mantle of marriage, this is what, for me, where I kind of feel like the mantle of marriage, especially when you're talking about it being on display, right? Your marriage is something that should be put on display, because if it's the mantle, it's going to be like the centerpiece, right? So it's like when people come into your presence, it's like, how does your centerpiece really look, and what is it really telling other people about, I guess, your actual lifestyle, right? And whatnot. So your marriage, it should be on display for the right reasons, and understanding what an actual marriage is, because that mantle of putting it on display, you have people who are married and actually do have what you would call a platform in order to put their marriage on display or whatnot. But you have to start to think, like, is that really the type of marriages that, you know, was really intended to be on display, right?
Right. And I feel with that, I feel like we kind of shy away from the responsibility of what a marriage is. You know, everybody kind of looks at it nowadays like it's just paper, you know, like, okay, we went in front of the judge and, you know, got married type stuff, and that's it. But I feel like the magnitude behind a marriage, a lot of people are kind of watering down and diluting it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So what that made me think of was like the definitely putting your marriage on display. And one of the things is something as simple as like opening the door for you, for your wife or something, you know. Definitely. When y'all leave the house, that's putting your marriage on display or whatnot, because some people, they don't do that, you know. I'll be the first to admit, I ain't always do that at all. You know, I didn't, know that was something that should be done, because one thing, the marriage mantle is a example or a display of what a marriage should be. Another thing that I look at is like, you know, that whole debate of like certain females or women who may not necessarily cater in the sense that you will cater to their husbands, because, you know, sometimes they just kind of feel like, oh, well, he a man, he got it. But you have to put that on display. I remember like how, I can't remember if it was us or if you had a conversation with someone and was like, oh, you know, why would you take your husband's food out? You know, you know, he can take care of himself. But I'm like, that's literally putting your marriage on display as well. It's something small, it's something that's kind of insignificant, but it shows people like, in a marriage, you have to put the other person before yourself.
Right. You're serving each other. And I feel too like you have it where people are dating and they do way more for the other person than when they, let's say if they do get married, then it's kind of like all that stuff tends to dial down. What we're trying to say here is, you know, you need to kind of flip it. There should be standards in your dating phase or whatnot, and then when you get in your marriage, what makes the difference of marriage and dating, you know, being able to say, okay, I don't have to keep on talking about my marriage for you to believe or see, you know, what we're doing. So by us just naturally acting and doing, like serving each other, like Cam had stated earlier, how I would take out his food, or, you know, sometimes he would take out, or he will open the door for me, or, you know, do stuff like that to show that marriage, you know, in marriage, you know, you have certain standards for a reason to show, okay, this is what we do in our marriage. It's not just something that should be taken lightly. And I think that's the thing that, you know, we really want to shine light on, is marriage should not be taken lightly. It's not like we're roommates. You know, there's a difference in what a marriage is and why it was established in the first place.
And I think that's the thing too, when you do put your marriage on display, I don't think every aspect of your marriage should not be on display for the world to see. Meaning, if your marriage is dysfunctional or y'all argue a lot, don't put that on display, because you already have people who are being discouraged from actually getting married for the right reasons, who will be like, yo, why am I going to get into that if this is automatically comes with it within your marriage? And to put it on display, like, I'm not saying that y'all going to be perfect or whatnot, and certain things are going to pop up, but if it does, especially the other part of the mantle of marriage, when that transfer of responsibility, meaning to your children or whatnot, they need to see how situations are fixed within a marriage. So it's like, you're going to argue, you're probably going to argue in front of your kids, because one thing that I believe is, if you do argue in front of your kids, show them the other side of it too, where you show them how to fix it.
Exactly.
How do you talk it out? But also, going back to putting your marriage on display, that mantle or whatnot, making it such a thing that other people thrive for. Now, this is where you have to be careful, I personally believe, where it's like other people are going to look at you and be like, oh, relationship goals. But then they'll start be like, well, why can't my wife be like your wife? Or why can't my husband be like your husband? Stuff like that.
Stop with the comparison. I hate that.
And it's like,
I hate
look,
that.
everything in life takes work.
Right.
And it's what's behind the scenes that you don't see.
Exactly.
Because even with the mantle that's in your home on that fireplace, nobody saw that thing get built. They don't know what do you call them? The carpenters and the construction.
They don't see you cleaning and wiping the dust when the dust trying to stick on that thing.
Maintaining that. And that's the thing. You don't know the labor that went into actually presenting that mantle the way that it was, and how you had to go to the store and buy this piece, so that you can set it all up. So what a lot of people don't understand is the work that was put behind it in order for us to kind of bring this together, because you viewed it this way, but I viewed it this way, which we were obviously shopping at two different stores trying to bring them into the same thing to make sure that it flowed, but it was not going to flow until we went shopping together and stood and said, all right, this is how we want this to look and work.
And that's what comes to mind is that effective communication. If you notice in your marriage, you have a communication barrier, whatever that may be, from your upbringing to who your friends are, who you're listening to, you know, even if you're trying to like role model after somebody, you and your spouse have to take the time to say, okay, look, what are we trying to establish from this marriage? What, y'all hear Kayla? What are you trying to establish in this marriage? You know, what is our goal here? Why are we together?
That's it, the goal.
And when Cam was talking about people comparing, I'm telling you, that thing, it's like, at first, it's flattering, but then after a while, it will make that other person feel like, well, I'm not Cam, or I'm not Jordan, why, you know, that's not me, why don't you be with them then, or something like that, and it causes some type of wedge and a rift in your relationship, and it's like, you know, you're going away from what you're trying to get at, your goal of your marriage, trying to show that marriage does work, because marriage can work. It takes work in order for it to work. So understanding why you are married, understand what our purpose together is, you know, why did God allow this union to happen? You know, it wasn't by happenstance, as, you know, some of y'all know.
What?
Happenstance.
What happenstance?
Like it happened by coincidence or chance or whatever. Y'all check out, because that's what I said too on the podcast too, Vash. I was like, oh my gosh.
I've never heard of happenstance.
But yeah, it's like, it didn't just happen. It's not by chance. It was on purpose, you know? So that's where I'm getting at, why you are married. And that's why some of y'all shouldn't rush to marriage if you haven't really sat down with the other person and really see, okay, can I really see myself with this person? Can we really achieve the goals that I know we can achieve?
That's the thing. Most people don't have their goals written down for marriage, right? I mean, outside of some characteristic or quality goals of the other person that they're seeking.
Right.
Now, once you actually get that, it's like now you have to set these goals. What are we building towards?
Right.
What is our future? How are we deciding to raise our kids? Because even me and you had a conversation about that. Mind you, Nevaeh, she'll be 10 this year.
Yeah.
But me and Georgia already talked about like college. Georgia doesn't want her to go away to college. And I'm more or less on the lines of, while I feel comfortable enough to, by the time that time comes, whatever we instilled with her, she will take it with her. She's not perfect. She's going to make mistakes. If she has the opportunity to go away to college, then, and it's a good choice for her to go, then, I mean, of course I'm her dad, you know, it's going to hurt and stuff, but I have to let what we instilled actually flourish in different areas of life as well. So, I mean, that's something to talk about too. How do y'all plan on raising y'all kids?
Right.
What is y'all standard for handling debt? What is y'all... Because I'm not gonna lie, when we got married, we did not have no debt conversation.
We didn't.
Did not.
Because that wasn't an issue, though.
That's true.
We both had our finances in order. So it was, I feel like, and that's the thing. That's why you have to kind of check the temperament or the temperature of your relationship. What works for you may not work for somebody else. And so it's like, okay, when we got married, debt wasn't our problem. So we didn't feel like it was necessary to
But even though it wasn't our problem, the fact that we didn't have the conversation of what to do with money, it reared its ugly head later on. So that's why I'm like, you still have to talk about those things or whatnot. I think another thing, having that mantle, like, to put your marriage on display is more or less like, I said it in the podcast that I was on with y'all and stuff or whatnot.
Genuine Connections with Georgia and Vash, like, y'all check that out.
It's more or less like the marriage serves a purpose to govern the families for a better society. Right. Ultimately for God's glory in the earth through the union or the covenant of a male and a female who serve God and who will instill that into their children. And when they walk out into society, they become effective enough to affect society around them. Because as you can clearly see, marriage has been defined, the family has been redefined, and we're working almost like we're actually battling that, because now it's like people are just literally doing whatever makes them feel good. And that's another thing, when you're putting your marriage, you have that marriage mantle or whatnot. If people have told you that your marriage gives them hope or couple goals and stuff like that, like you said, it can be flattering, but take that with a heavy responsibility, because now you have people that are looking at you. If I'm the type of dude where people are like, oh, you know, that's what's up, you know, your marriage and stuff, man, you know, I really rock with that and stuff like that. It makes me think, how now do I have to treat you even better behind closed doors so that in person it's not me putting on the show? You know what I mean? Yeah. Because ultimately what we want is successful marriages. Like, we want marriages to be successful. We want people to win. We want families to win. We want that passion and we want your purpose all coupled together with those principles in order for you to function for a better tomorrow, like honestly. And part of being on display means, like you were talking about dusting and stuff, it means you're going to get dirty every now and again. Part of being on display, people, they're going to scrutinize you for doing the right thing. And my whole thing is like, man, you know what? I fear God and I love my wife. So because I fear God and I love my wife, there's nothing that can make me stray from that. Because you do have a lot of people who get caught up in the societal norms of infidelity, lying, just doing a whole bunch of other stuff. But if those are the marriages that is being produced, you can clearly see it's not going to last long. That's why certain statistics are the way that they are, especially within the Black community. Back in the day, I can't remember what the years was, but you know, the Black household with both a mother and father that was married used to be at 70%. It was one of the, if not the highest, the Black community had the highest percentage of dual parent married households in the nation at one point in time. And now if you look at it, that's just not the case. So this is why we're like trying to give y'all, you know, some little tidbits, you know, like you said, it's going to take work. And it is hard work, because sometimes you're just like, man, I don't want to do this. Like, I ain't gonna lie, that days like we go to the grocery store and stuff, I'm like, yo, I don't want to open your door. I just don't. But
what comes to mind, like we said, in order for it to work, it takes work. You have to understand what level of value do you place on your relationship. If you value something, you know that you're going to be tired, but it takes work, it takes effort, it takes that endurance to say, you know what, we want this thing to thrive, so therefore we're gonna, value it. We're gonna make it a priority. We're gonna sit down and have those tough conversations that we don't want to talk about. If there's something that your spouse is doing that you haven't said for years and you don't agree with it, you can't get mad at your spouse for continuing to do it, because you are, closed mouths don't get fed. You have to say something. Yeah, he always says that, but it's true though. Closed mouth doesn't get fed. So you have to basically voice your opinion on how you want to be treated, on how you want to view certain things, on, what are some aspirations in your relationship to help it to thrive. Because you have a lot of social media where they are amplifying the negative side of things, where it's almost like, oh, you can have the benefits of a marriage without being married. And that, when I feel like
how does that work?
Meaning, like, for example, you might have it where, let's say one person is taking care of somebody's bills or their mortgage or whatever, and you are making, marital decisions of like trying to build an empire without a commitment.
Because just because you have all that, the thing that I tell people all the time, the thing that blesses me more than anything in my marriage is knowing that I have a woman that prays for me, because she sees things that I don't. What God has given you with your spiritual gifts, he didn't give me. That's why I'm always like, you should pray for that missing piece. Even if I didn't know what piece I was missing for, I just say, hey, God, you took Eve out of Adam and made, them come together. I pray for that missing piece or whatnot. Because at the end of the day, it's like, I go out into the world, you go out, you do your work and stuff, and every morning we pray for each other.
But you will have some people who aren't married and say, well, I pray for my boyfriend, or I pray for my girlfriend.
But see, this is the difference. But this is why I'm like, you don't have that benefit of marriage, because God, he honors the marriage. He honors that covenant. You can pray for that person, but it's not the same benefit that God's going to give you through that union and that covenant that he's promised to y'all.
So we could say that they assume that they're getting the benefit of the marriage, but it's not necessarily the benefit of the marriage.
In my personal opinion, yes, just because I'm like, I don't agree with that, and I kind of get what people are saying. I'm not dumb or naive to the thing that people are saying, but I just don't agree with it. That's just my own personal views of it.
Right.
But yeah, so also the mantle of marriage, of that transfer of responsibility, kind of goes back to what I was talking about with raising the kids, right? Now we're talking about the mantle where we're transferring that responsibility, right? Your marriage, first and foremost, if you have children, your marriage should be the blueprint for them, for your children. Because eventually they're going to have to get married. And if you have a daughter, you want her to be able to know that these are the normal things that happens in a marriage. I've seen people who've come from homes with both parents who really don't know that in a marriage you can have PDA. Because it's more or less of a thing of, oh, you don't want people to kind of look at you and you don't know what they're thinking. You'll never know what someone's thinking. But the reason why people need to see PDA, because you have people who are out here dating this person, that person, and then your children get confused and say, oh, so mommy and daddy are kissing, but so is Uncle Johnny and 16 other people.
Right.
So my thing is, you're supposed to be that blueprint to impart in them, to transfer that that level of responsibility of holding true to what a real marriage is, so that they can find their right person, so that they can continue it.
Right. And I feel too with that, transferring, that power of marriage to your children, or letting them understand what marriage actually represents. It helps them too, even with their growth, because everything is so open and accessible now. It's like, if you don't have certain conversations with your children, they're going to look elsewhere and get the wrong thing. And then, children are curious and they start to do other stuff. But if you have that, open door policy, so to speak, with your children, to kind of help them and let them understand, okay, I see mommy and daddy doing this. I see that why they're doing this, or they have some understanding. And you kind of set those, level of understanding by age. You're like, at this age we can disclose certain things to our children about this, or if you feel like, okay, this is not the time, but we can kind of guide them in this way. It's like a marriage, you have a lot of obligations that you have to understand. It's not just you and your spouse,
right.
It's more than that. It's bigger than just the two of us, but when we both are in one accord,
in
and
unity, in unison, uniformity,
it will make things flow.
It will.
You have to have that synergistic relationship where it's like, we're doing things together God's way, so therefore we're able to understand the benefits of things. So,
and also that mantle of marriage, where you're passing on that responsibility. I don't know how controversial this is, but I personally believe in this, and I know that you do too. But it's like you do have to teach your children the roles of a marriage.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people want to get into it and just be like, oh, I'm not finna do this, I'm not finna do that. I'm a guy, I don't have to do this, or I'm a female, I'm not going to degrade myself like that. And that's what I mean where I'm saying marriages are being redefined, right? But holding this mantle of responsibility to transfer it to the next generation is super duper important.
Yeah.
Because I posted a quote one time on my Instagram that was like, I want to inspire people. I want to be the person that inspires the next generation that says, because of you, I didn't quit, right? Mm-hmm. And I think I really do feel that, but I also want it to be where it's like, I want people to, especially for guys, black men, you can love your wife and only her and show her that affection, make her special or whatnot. And you have to show your children that, because what you don't want is to start raising children who come from a level of dysfunction. Yeah. Because whatever dysfunction they have within them, they're gonna take it right into the next thing with them. And I'm not saying that everything is gonna be perfect or whatnot with your children or with you within your marriage, but strive to make things better than what you personally have.
Right.
It's a plethora of information out there, tools and tips out there that you can use. Make sure it's rooted in the actual real principles in which marriage is founded upon. But know that y'all do, if you are married and you are watching this and listening to it, you do have a mantle to uphold, to put it on display, and to transfer it.
Right.
So because of those things, you should always honor your marriage. And because of when we're recording this, it's around Valentine's Day. Don't use Valentine's Day as the only day to date, honor your spouse. Don't do that. There are so many times that we conform to what society's doing because we want to be on the in crowd or whatnot. I don't care. I tell people all the time, my marriage is going to stand out. I don't care, like, because I want it to be where it's like, y'all are different. We're different for many different reasons. And it's like, I'm not trying to be like everybody else. I can only be who God called me to be.
Exactly.
And the more that, we pray together, the more that we actually worship together and just actually be in one, the better things are going to be for the next generation or whatnot.
And that's enough. I feel like some people feel like if I'm not in the limelight, if I'm not doing enough, if people aren't seeing me, because people tend to get their validation from outside. And that's one thing that's really going to cripple you in your marriage. If you feel like my spouse isn't enough, I have to basically be in everything and move in every boat that floats. Or when I go to work, oh yeah, I'm this macho boss, or I'm that chick, or I'm that man, or whatnot. And it's like, no, you need to understand that you can have your validation from your spouse, because that's who you married. This is why you married each other. And for those who are about to get married too, these are some things that y'all should be talking about to kind of say, okay, why are we even together? Can we actually build something, that is of God and to help the, legacy and the generation that's behind us? Because I feel like if people understand the obligation and the roles that we have in humanity, it will make people kind of take heed and not just do things just because, or I'm tired of being by myself, so let me just lock up with Johnny over here or whatever. No,
I mean, that mostly happens because I feel like a lot of people get confused because they're already having sex with the person.
True, yeah.
But that's a whole nother topic that we're not gonna get into right now. But yeah, so I kind of feel like this was a great first gaming with the games. I hope you gained something from it. And, we'll see you next time with whatever topic we come up with. Thank y'all. We love y'all. Peace.
Happy Valentine's Day. Don't forget to like,
and
comment,
happy birthday
share,
to me.
And
my birthday was February 11th.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
All right, y'all.
You ain't never say happy birthday. You just kept on saying yes.
Happy birthday, babe. All right, y'all. Y'all be blessed and be safe.
Deuces.